Alright everyone, we should be live. Let's make sure that's actually the case. Over on Rumble, of course. We will unpause and repause, of course, so I don't have to see my ugly mug in triplicate. That would be bad. It's not exactly what I want. Went to the zoo earlier, actually. Got to see baboons for the first time. Went to the Prospect Park, actually, and saw all sorts of crazy shit. I've got pictures of monkeys and all sorts of stuff like that. I was thinking, you put me a picture of me in the monkey cage, it'll keep the monkeys from jerking off. That's an old Yo Mama joke, by the way. Self-deprecation. I don't trust people who can't practice it. Anyway, I've had an insane few days. So first we'll get to a few Bantz before I shout out the sponsors and get to the news. The other day, I had a full English, actually, and I couldn't eat the whole thing because, it's sauteed mushrooms. You've got beans and tomato sauce. You've got blood sausage. You've got some sort of roasted meat. I'm not exactly sure even what it was. Toast. And half a dozen other things. Then you get tea. I had jasmine tea, actually. Thought it was delicious. It reminded me of a jasmine tea, actually, that I'd had as a kid. When I was younger, I used to have a thing for tea. And actually, that was what I took with me to school almost every single day when I was in high school. I would have a thermos, and there would be hot tea in it. And then I would just drink on that. And my mom would buy me all sorts of teas, and I thought that it was great. I almost never ate lunch, only twice, and the whole time I was in high school did I eat lunch. Both times because one of my friends actually just gave me his food because he didn't want it. One of them was a chicken burger. I liked that. I can't remember what the other one was. I think it was fish sticks, if I remember correctly. Not 100% sure. But yeah, I went on Lev's podcast, and he's very generous, by the way. You should all look up Lev Polyakov and subscribe to Break the Rules podcast. He's a very, very generous fellow. I was going to pay for myself and my guest, actually, for lunch, but he refused, and so he just paid for us as well. And we had a great meal, and then the next day, I have a full English, and I've still got to get back to Lev, actually, because he's wondering where this place is, actually. And I had some interesting experiences there. No, I'm not going to elaborate further. Trust me, it was a wild day. So, the last 48 hours have been sort of a whirlwind, so to speak. I had a great time. All positive experiences, by the way. Let's see. Clank, so glad. Oh, just a sec. I've got to drag this to the top or else I can't even... Wait, where's your username? Clank, so glad to catch this live. Did you see Elon Musk has come out against the big beautiful bill? For some reason, your username is not appearing there. Yes, I did see that. I already covered that the other day. Elon Musk is not a particular fan of the bill that has just been passed. He's worried about the effects on the economy from spending so much money. I'm less worried because really it's not about how much money you're spending, it's about what you're spending it on. So, for example, let's look at a microcosmic sort of incident. Let's say that somebody has $100,000. If they spend 90,000 bucks on bonds and a stock portfolio and stuff like that, okay, they're investing. Okay, well, that's something that can bring a return. Let's say that they spend that $100,000 buying a car. Well, that's something that's going to depreciate in value over time. That's a less wise investment. I tend to be Team Trump on this particular issue, but not completely, not 100%. Zim the Despot. Anyone notice that today's liberals became tomorrow's conservatives? Part of the reason I never consider myself any of these things, even if I get along with conservatives more than liberals. Yeah, I think you're a noticer like me. Stephen Nizik, if you're the talk-tube equivalent of John Lennon, would Sargon of Akkad be the Paul McCartney? Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, he's a bit more posh, my friend. He's a bit more posh. John Lennon's more like, hey, pass the fucking joint over. Although I don't know if Sargon ever used LSD. Apparently, Paul McCartney used to blast himself into outer space with it, so, you know. Opinionated junkie. You can stand in for someone or at Diddy trial. Oh, stand in line for someone at Diddy trial. That would be funny. Baron von Blair. Sticks, you had a little clanker coming. My lady law... Here, just a sec. My glasses, Is there something wrong with my glasses? It feels like they're fogged up or something. Jesus H. Christ. Just a sec. Had a little clanker coming. My lady lost it at 7 weeks. We may try again. Count your blessings, clankers. Much love from Southern California. My condolences, by the way. Yeah, I'm sure that you'll have little clankers. We need little clankers. Mulgera. Something that has been profoundly interesting is that the stereotypical conservative grifter types have remained completely silent on Elon coming out against the BBB. Yeah, I've noticed this. It's coincidental, isn't it? Mr. Repurpose. G'day, matey. Arr. Let's get to our sponsors really quickly. We'll knock that out of the park, and then we'll get to a little bit of news. Then go back to some Bantz for a while. We have cultivated-mind.com, where you can get mushroom pills. I take them every single morning. You can also get them for your doggo now, and I'm hoping that they'll eventually develop cat treats also, because that would be very, very beneficial in my life since we have 4 cats. Also, the dog treats actually smell good. You know, some of them smell like weird and like stale and shit. These ones actually smell good, so there's an advantage. I notice a boost in my energy when I take the mushroom pills. Just saying, just as an anecdote. We have BiltongUSA.com. Anton can supply you with biltong, which is a form of South African meat. It's usually shredded, sometimes in stick form, more like a sausage with the Angus of the Cabernet. The Cabernet being my favorite, by the way. He's got Wagyu and so forth. Also, goji berries. He's got Bovrite, which I still forgot to bring up. And usually when he appears in chat, I dip my finger into the Bovrite and eat it, and the joke is, too salty. You know, it's a salty cracker reference, I think, more than anything else. Anton, there, speak of the devil, there's Anton right there. Use code STICKS, by the way, on all of these sites for 10% off. And finally, we've got jamandbean.com. That is Jamn bean.com. We've got Clanker Blend coffee. He's got all sorts of other coffee. We've got teas available. Pretty much everything. So if you go to all of these sites, you can get a pile of meat, a good tea or coffee, whichever one floats your boat, or both. Yeah, it is preferable to eat them both. And you can down your mushroom pills with that and then feed a doggy treat to your doggo. Sounds like the perfect life for me. Just saying. Mulgera. Oh man, I think I found the album of the year for 2025. Rivers of Nile did a self-titled album. They're a prog death metal band. I've heard of them before, actually. Clean vocals and saxophone is included. Super damn cool. They're using a saxophone now? Okay, that sounds like something that I would listen to. I'll have to look that up later. Although, so far, I think that Kanye has the best release of the year. Yeah, I think that Kanye sort of knocked it out of the park with Heil Hitler, because he pissed literally everyone off, and it was hysterical. And that was probably his goal. He's got enough fuck you money that he's like, why do I give a shit about your censorship and shit like that? Why do I care? Let's get to the news, shall we? FEMA head told staff he was previously unaware U.S. had a hurricane season. I'm going to stop them right there. There's a reason that this is the first news story that I wanted to cover. One of my professional capabilities is judging the legacy media. I've been doing it since the late 2000s. A source told us that this is what he said at the meeting. we're not going to tell you what the source is. We're not going to tell you exactly what was said. We're not entirely sure that this was said at all. But just trust us, dumb fucks. This is what was said. That's basically the sum and substance of the article that you're getting here. And of course, it comes from CNN Politics. This is not a surprise to me. You're telling me that Trump's FEMA head said he was not aware that there was a hurricane season. I highly doubt that. In the off chance that this is true, it would be a Bush moment, because you remember what happened with FEMA under George W. Strategery. I made a big orgasm in Laura's pants. It was a great time. He didn't know what he was doing and carpetbagged in one of his business friends, actually, into heading FEMA. With Donald Trump, largely his hiring decisions have been relatively good. RFK Jr., Tulsi Gabbard, Elise Stefanik, and so forth, they're doing Hegseth, even though he's embattled, they're doing a very good job, generally speaking. I would say RFK Jr. is number one within the administration. Even little Marco Rubio, is doing a fucking good job. He's Secretary of State at the moment. He's actually doing a good job. I did not expect him to do a particularly good job. I figured, he'll be mediocre. No, I'll grade him a B+, actually, so far. RFK Jr. gets an A+, actually, so far. His hiring decisions have been far better than in the first iteration of the administration. So you'll excuse me if I doubt that CNN has any veracity with regards to this reporting. A source close to a source tells us that the FEMA head doesn't even know that there's a hurricane season. I doubt that. I really, really have to doubt that. I can understand. Look, the Trump administration is not going to be perfect. They're going to make mistakes. Every administration does. That being said, any given mistake, I want some meat on the bones with regards to the reporting on it. I want to know who exactly is alleging that this was said at a meeting. Who exactly said it? I want an actual source. Oh, that's right. They're still working for the administration. So as a leaker, potentially, if they're being truthful at all, and otherwise, then it's just bullshit, basically. We get this all the goddamn time. We get this even under administrations that I don't particularly support. We even got this under the Biden administration. There were times like, well, a source has told us, and I'm like, no, I'm going to stop you there. It's not newsworthy then. If you're not telling me who's actually telling you what they allege, why would I take it seriously? I even gave the Biden administration, which was a 0 out of 10 administration, or maybe a 0.5 at best, the benefit of the doubt on some of these stories. The only ones that you could verify were ones where you had physical evidence, like the Ashley Biden diary incident that nobody wants to talk about. Completely ridiculous. It makes absolutely no sense to take it seriously. Last beacon, I'm still worried about the 2026 midterms. I'm seeing a 2018 repeat. We're going to have to wait and see. That's still quite a long ways off. So it sort of depends on what the Trump administration does. Because the left has made it so central, has made Trump such a central figure, and is basically ignoring other Republicans for the most part. It really depends on whether he's successful, more than anything else. Last weekend, we're dealing with an incompetent Democratic Party, and the Republican Party is becoming even more incompetent. Well, they always have been, so yeah, I would agree with you on that one. Mulgera, I'd expect the GOP to lose the House in 26, especially with Musk rightly coming out against the big beautiful bill. We need more Massies than we do anyone else. We need actual cuts. I do agree with that in principle. That being said, you also have to think pragmatically. I would just pass the bill and then tinker with it thereafter. I would do it quietly. Last beacon. Strategery. Orgasm. Nuclear combat. Spike. To me, Marco is definitely one of the best since he blew past all expectations. He's in the VP conversation now for 2028. I wouldn't want Marco Rubio as VP. I mean, it could work, but I don't know how that would go over with the populist core. For pragmatic purposes, I'm not sure how that would go over. Benjamin the Dream Wizard, greetings from the communist shithole city of Portland, Oregon. Hope you are enjoying the books of historical dream literature I sent you way. Let's do a dream interpretation interview soon. That would be fun. Like one of the symbols of the Warwick family is a bear chained to a ragged staff, for example. And the bear typically symbolizes being held back. So to hold back the holding back, it means progress. Last Beacon said strategery over and over. Thank you. I'm glad that you're actually saying it in a Rumble rant as opposed to simply spamming. Otherwise, you get a timeout. You're naughty, you know. Rand Paul breaks with Donald Trump on his big beautiful bill. He's still a no on this one. It's not clear what's going to happen from here, but Rand Paul tends to be fairly acerbic. While I like his views, he's more on the libertarian side than the average Republican, for example. While I like this, at the same time, sometimes these things can be unhelpful. I see it as anti-pragmatic. It's principled. I can give him respect for having those principles. But is it pragmatic to hold up the bill? I'm not sure that it is. I think that it might hand political ammunition to liberals who are quite clearly unconcerned with not only constraining the budget, but at the same time they want to raise taxes and do a bunch of other bullshit as well. So I don't know quite how I feel about this one. This is sort of an open question issue for me. It's like, on the one hand, I understand where Rand's coming from, and I support, again, the ideological stance. But at the other time, if your ideology fails entirely because you've blocked your own bill, what ends up happening in the end? Is it a good outcome or a bad outcome? Probably the latter. Now, the trees won't stop having sex. It's a big problem. Mulgera, oh god, yeah, don't trust Rubio, he's a snake. Give him the levers of power and he'd make Bush like a libertarian dove. Yeah, I have some concerns about him. He's doing better than expected, don't get me wrong, with regards to his main function in the State Department. Of course, he's mainly regards diplomacy. In that sense, he's done a decent job, actually, much better than I expected. But there's always that aspect of Marco Rubio that makes me think of a used car salesman, honestly. Virtual Face World, I dumped a chick for getting a tattoo during Vice Week. Clankers.net, motherfuckers. Interesting. Hope you got some tail first, you know? Mulgera, oh, I got blocked by that fat fucking Glacier representative Randy Fine on both of his accounts. What a colossal goddamn loser. Dude makes Lindsey Graham look like Code Pink. Huh, never heard of him, actually. Mr. Repurpose. Sticks, how did you know I was taking this evening off from work? Well, originally I was considering whether I was even going to do a live stream, actually. Because I'm like, well, it's getting later in the day and shit like that. But then I'm like, you know, actually it looks like more people tune in if I go live at this time of day. I'm thinking about switching slots. Mulgera, I think it's good to be obstructionist in some ways. Obstruction to make the party better is good, and I ain't a Republican. Push the GOP to actually be fiscally conservative. Good luck with that. Spike, if the Republicans can pass a bill that cuts spending and lifts the pressure off the American people, 2026 should be a red wave. But only the Republicans can blow the lead against a bunch of retards. Yeah, leave it up to the Republicans. Exactly. That's the whole problem. It's like, you know, your opponent is basically beating themselves in the head, but then you start competing to see who can hit themselves more often. Porlock 480. Hey, Sticks, do you like the band Assemblage 23? Never heard of them. I'll have to look it up. Opinionated Junkie, you should go to the Bronx. I've been through the Bronx. Mostly I've been in Brooklyn and Manhattan. Haven't gone to Staten Island yet, though. I need to go and visit the Wu-Tang Clan headquarters. That would be funny. Keith Hutchins, how can anyone take this clown serious? Well, cross-platform, there's like 2,000 people currently watching me, so I guess some people do. Last Beacon, upon that, my first presidential election at the age of 21, mind you, I voted for George W. Bush. I was such a fool back then. My first one was voting for Obama, unfortunately. I'm a bigger fool than you, but we both, I think, learned our lesson. A $20 mistake. At-risk teens will pay for Cuomo's wage hike. Yes, Andrew Cuomo, I believe, is still the front runner here in New York, which is unfortunate, in my opinion. And he wants to raise the minimum wage to $20. The minimum wage should not even exist. Wages should be determined by free market value. In a corrective economy, this will no longer be a problem. Why would it be a problem? People will demand the wages that are worth their work, and employers will tend to spend it on those employees. That's just the way that it works. Free market economy, uber alles, basically. I do not believe in having a minimum wage. I think that there should be a federal minimum wage for federal workers. Beyond that, no, I don't think there should be any minimum wage at all. No, there shouldn't. Why? Is there any particular purpose to this? Now, liberals will tell you, well, they'll get underpaid. Well, maybe they're going to be overpaid. Maybe the cost of goods and services will drop like a rock, and it'll defeat inflation. Sounds like a win-win to me. Harrison Bergeron, my wife's snatch tastes like honey. Oh, then I wouldn't want to eat your wife's snatch because I don't like sweets. Just saying. Virtual Face World, if you're interested in dream interpretation and dream journaling, we have a discussion forum dedicated to it on clankers.net. Join us. Rakita Law for Prez. Got to see Coheed and Cambria, Mastodon, and Periphery live in Scranton, Pennsylvania. Phenomenal show. Stick seems like a Mastodon kind of guy. Yeah, I like Mastodon. I definitely like Coheed and Cambria. Blood Red Summer, my friend. Last Beacon. I just wish that George W. Bush didn't come out as a backstabber against Trump. I am so sick of the sick of the backstabbing worms. Yeah, with regards to George W., he's not a conservative. He's a lay liberal, and pushes the same uniparty agenda. Basically, it's just, hey, how much money can I make with Raytheon today? That's basically the only thing that he cares about. Oregon girl alleges track meet official ordered her to get out of the photo after protesting trans athlete. Yes, over in Oregon, there were a couple of female athletes that were going to be on the podium, but they decided to protest it because there was a man on the podium. And so they're like, we shouldn't have had to, I mean, even they came ahead of this individual, so they would have gotten like awards and shit. But they decided to protest it in order to support women's rights, actually. Apparently, officials there in Oregon didn't really like that. Oregon High School senior Alexa Anderson garnered national attention on Saturday when she refused to share the high jump medal podium with a trans athlete at a state track and field championship meet. Viral footage of Anderson and fellow girl athlete Reese Eckerd, I like how they say girl athlete, there's a towel, stepping down from the podium also showed the official gesturing for them to step to the side. Anderson alleges the official ordered her and Eckerd to get out of the shot of photos if they were not going to stand on the podium. So you're basically punishing girls at this point for understanding their own femininity. This is really, really progressive, by the way. Yeah. Oregon should be shamefaced at the moment. Last Beacon, honestly, if Marco Rubio were to come back into power at least as president, I believe you would probably see the neoconservatives come back into the fold. Yeah, but I don't give a shit about the neocons. I don't want them to come back into the fold. At least for me, I say good riddance. I mean, I don't give a shit if somebody is transgendered. It means nothing to me. But you should have dude league, chick league, and then just have a unisex league. What's so difficult with that? You know, people watch all three of them. You know, you have a unisex league. What's wrong with that? If you're a biological male or a biological female and you don't want to have to compete with people from the other gender, then you stay in your own league, and then you have one that's sort of, you know, all inclusive and anyone can participate. There's nothing wrong with this. It's just like when you're in school. You know, boys and girls will play soccer or whatever together and shit like that. And some of the girls will kick your ass, especially in certain sports. But we have to be realistic. There are certain sports, especially when you're talking about competitive sports where you're giving medals and awards and honors and things like that. We have to be realistic. Men and women are not the same. There are two genders, and they have different proclivities. Men tend to be physically larger and more strong. Women tend to be much more flexible, which is wonderful, by the way, and agile. So, they both have their own talents. They both have sports that they're going to tend to dominate. You know, women have been fairly dominant in tennis, for example, for quite some time. There's a reason for that. Bulldozer. Just a reminder that June is Men's Mental Health Month. Remember that you're not a piece of shit as long as you're trying to be better. Much more honorable a cause than rainbow shit. Yeah. It's sad because oftentimes men are sort of overlooked, straight white men specifically, generally speaking, by the system. And it's like, supposedly we're the most privileged, but we're the ones that get the least help when we really need it. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. Redacted. Petition to ban Sticks from ever saying horny stuff ever again. You're not that guy, pal. I could tell you some stories. Let's put it that way. I like saying horny things. You know, it's fun. It's hilarious, actually. It's not funny, it's fucking hysterical. How progressive critics paved the way for Trump's attack on judicial supremacy. This is actually, and this is goddamn hilarious. This is initially from Salon, right? They're trying to make the case that it is bad that Donald Trump has ended the era of judicial supremacy and is attacking the legal system. Again, let me remind everyone, liberals spent decades assailing the legal system. Prison overcrowding, corrupt prosecutors, corrupt judges, over-prosecuting people, you know, minor offense becomes a major offense, planting crack on people, you know, drug planting and stuff like that, over and over and over again. 10,000 examples. Liberals were the ones that spearheaded that basic concept. Now all of a sudden they believe in judicial supremacy. Well, the judiciary can do no wrong because they're making the decisions that we happen to agree with. This is where I differ from even some conservatives, because I know that if the shoe was on the other foot, some conservatives would agree with the same basic principle. Well, they made a decision I agreed with, so I think that the judiciary is pretty cool. That's not the way to think. What you should do is question all aspects of government at all times. Executive, legislative, judicial, doesn't matter. State level, federal level, doesn't matter. And that's what I do. This is what differentiates me from liberals and conservatives, generally speaking. I can agree with certain decisions, but that doesn't mean that they're always necessarily even constitutional, honestly. Porlock, will the World War II narrative change over the next 100 years? No, unfortunately. It should, but it won't. The swamp cleaner. Sticks in the evening? Don't mind if I do. Yeah, as far as I go, I look for what is strictly constitutional. Is it actually a power of government, or it is explicitly banned from the government utilizing that power? In my opinion, all three branches of government have exceeded their power considerably. The legislature has permanently incepted a bunch of bureaus that were never meant to be permanent. The executive branch at times has ignored the legislature and even judicial decisions. Just look at Andrew Jackson. The judiciary weighs in on some cases and not in on others, and while their restraint is noted and in some cases acceptable, in some cases you have an egregious violation of people's rights, and SCOTUS won't even take up the case. And federal courts, of course, they're very hit or miss. As people do judge shopping for a reason. Last speaking, well, I'm tired of the lay liberals and lay conservatives, the type of people that still follow the Reagan model, but still would rather hate Trump. Yeah, I agree. Mainly people like Joe Walsh, who is now a newly minted Democrat. Oh, I wasn't aware of this. It doesn't surprise me particularly, though. I mean, I'm sure that it doesn't surprise you. Death by astonishment. Bro, what the fuck happened to you? Well, I got shanghaied, and then I took over the ship and became a pirate, actually. Yeah, the problem is that the judiciary, we've had reporting, like, for decades, especially since the Bush era, from the legacy media, talking about, like, imperial presidents. They try to claim that Trump is one, even though Trump is stymied 90% of the time by the judiciary. Really, what we've got is an imperial judiciary, more than anything else. The judiciary has become the main problem within our government and has gotten out of control. There's not a real reasonable way to actually constrain them from continuing to do so. That's the problem. The judiciary is the least controlled of the three branches of government, where the House is basically, a college frat, and the Senate is a bunch of dudes smoking cigars, and the president is somebody who sits there, playing toy soldier. The judiciary is the most austere and normally the most reluctant to weigh in on things. But lately it has gone in the other direction, where the judiciary effectively ignored a lot of what Biden did, other than when it was blatantly illegal, like, for example, restaurant aid being based on race, or farm aid, for example. Unless it was absolutely blatant, they tended to ignore those cases. They simply didn't take them up. With Trump, over and over and over again, the federal court system is simply blockading him for absolutely no reason in many of these cases, even when it's self-evident that what he's doing is in and of itself legal. You're saying, hey, you're not allowed to cut this bureau. Why? That didn't ever seem to be a problem before with any other administration. No federal court, to my knowledge, ever weighed in on such a case and said, no, you're not allowed to cut these 2,000 jobs. It never happened because it's at will employment, effectively. Oh, so now Congress has to literally make a new law every single time that you want to fire a federal employee? That's going to set one weird precedent. Yeah, then Trump, what he should do is he should just load these agencies, I guess, with loyalists and overrun the other people and make their lives miserable so that they self-deport, so to speak. Apparently, that's going to be his only option. But then they'll probably not allocate the funds and they'll say, no, that's not legal either because now you have to water the funds down or some shit like that. That would actually be funny. Somebody should get that strategy to Trump. Why don't you top-load the agencies with people who are loyal to you and have them troll all of their fellow employees so that they self-deport? I mean, you're not allowed to shrink the agency, so temporarily you might want to increase it. And you can always shrink the number of job positions over time and simply not hire new people for them, and then they'll be stacked with your loyalists. This is an interesting idea that I've come up with. King of Biltong. Biltong is one of the highest protein snacks in the world, boasting nearly 50% protein and packed with B12, creatine, iron, zinc, and more. Visit www.biltongusa.com and use code STICKS for 10% off. I strongly suggest you get some. Last beacon. It is because of mainly they don't want a unisex league. They just want to point to just dominate social media and label anyone on a list ism and a phobe. Well, I know that, but, that would be a solution, though. If they really wanted, they don't, but if they did want a solution, create a unisex league. And girls and boys can compete with one another. There's no problem there. The locker room situation might get a little bit odd at times, but other than that, no problem. Well, we've got a much higher pregnancy rate in this particular unisex environment. I don't know why. Last beacon, side note, I like the flexible chicks as well. Yeah, I mean, it's really great. Yeah, you have a unisex league. I mean, it's like, when you're in elementary school especially, you're competing, boys and girls together. There's nothing wrong with that. But it is different when you're playing for an award or cash payout or something. Men and women have different skills as an aggregate that they tend to be better at. Women are going to be more flexible. Men are not going to be able to compete very ably. Men are not going to go to the yoga championships and compete against women. That would be a bad idea. Women are not going to go to the weightlifting championship with men, generally speaking, because it wouldn't be a good idea. Now, I mean, if a woman is competing against me, she might win. But if you have somebody who's 300 pounds of solid muscle, whose name is Bruce, well, yeah, you're probably not going to win against him in weightlifting. Helios ending. What do spirits have to gain from helping us? Well, in the coming days, I'm going to be making a very large slurry of spiritual content. I'll be able to tell you a little bit more then. My case is a little bit unique because I'm a personal friend of the spirit that I'm working with. The daimon, so to speak, that I'm working with, Stolas specifically. In other cases, well, the spirit is allowing you to do something that it happens to approve of, and is simply aiding you in so doing, and usually that is also serving you. The Sumerian. Put a flexible chick in a pretzel position and spread some mustard on her. Yummy. Not a huge fan of mustard unless it's in a deviled egg, actually. Inland Surfer. Hi, Sticks. Dr. McCullough on Capitol Hill calling attention to post-coup... can I actually read this out on YouTube video? My apologies. I can't read that out on a stream that's also going on YouTube. It would be considered medical disinformation. But you can look up Dr. McCullough on Capitol Hill, I suppose. It's Kenreza. It's, U.S. telling Australia to increase defense spending to 3.5 GDP caused a ruckus over here. As ex-defense, this is a great idea. Give us your Golden Dome schematics. Yeah, countries that are westernized should probably increase their military budgets. Most of them have a very, very scant one. The U.S. military budget is quite beefy, but that's because it's the largest economy within the Western sphere, and so we've been pulling weight, and the U.S. has other ambitions too. So we have to guard the shipping lanes and so forth. Even as a libertarian, I actually, or classical liberal, I guess you could class me now, I do support guarding the shipping lanes. This is one of the legitimate works of the U.S. military. And, of course, that requires the Marines, Semper Fi, to guard the naval vessels at port and so forth. We need the Navy. in order to make sure that the shipping lanes are clear. Otherwise, we get fucked in the ass, honestly. So defending against piracy, hell, that's something that our founders invested in, actually. When you think about it, defending against piracy was one of the first official acts of our nation. So I do not consider that to be a problem. It's certainly constitutional. That being said, we do not need to buy $2,000 screwdrivers and $10,000 toilets. That part of the military budget can probably be used for better purposes. Just send one of the privates down to Home Depot, and he can figure it out. Robert Manley, Sticks, like your hat. Thank you. Yeah, I got so many compliments today on the hat. Half a dozen people called me Jack Sparrow. I thought that was hilarious. Spoonclink, defend your daughters from the sturdy pirate. Lock up your doors and get the drugs in. Manchester's in the area. I hope you know what video game that's from. Robert Manley, keep up the good work. Thank you. I will try. Oh, you sent it twice. Kina, are you still in New York City? Yes, indeed. I'm currently in Brooklyn. And I've got so many leftovers from all the restaurants that I've been at that it's beginning to overload a little bit, so to speak. So I'm going to have the leftover octopus and salad probably later for dinner. I don't know what I'm going to do. It's like 10,000 pounds of crazy shit. Bog, Sticks, talk about Ogre Battle 64. Let me tell you about Ogre Battle 64. One of the best games ever fucking made. It's an RPG, and there are so many branching lines within the story and so many possible things that you can do. It's very, very complicated. The first time you play it through, if you don't know anything about the game, you're probably going to fucking fail. Let's put it that way. Building good units is easy. Learning how to balance them and how the difference between conquest and liberation, of course, that's something that fucked me the first time I played the game. That's the most common fucking that happens in the game. And learning which quest lines to follow sort of to suit your style of battle is very, very complex. The basic game in and of itself is fairly simplistic. You arrange units and you fight enemies. Ta-da! Wonderful. Actually balancing the units, though, getting to the good ending, unless you want to be a villain, you can always do that too, because it's an RPG. Doing that is a little bit more difficult. I love Ogre Battle 64, and I'll tell you, my perfect formation, well, there are two of them. The number one, 3 sword masters in the front. Of course, they evolve from fencers. So early on in the game, they'd be fencers. 3 of those in front, with 2 magic users in the back corners, using annihilation, preferably, or some other form of chaos magic. They'll decimate basically anything in their path, because the sword masters are very, very good at evading. They're very, very good at blocking. They're better than paladins. I am Team Swordmaster on this one. And so they block the hits, and then, the wizards or archmages or sorceresses or whatever in back, they're doing enormous amounts of damage to all of the opponent's enemies, and there's no resistance to annihilation and similar spells. You can also give them any other form of magic, and they'll tend to combine it together and cause an area effect. It's a little bit less effective, but still, mid-game, it's still good. The other one, though, is to have a dragon in the back row. You have a Dragon Master front and center, who, again, is absorbing damage, again, flanked preferably by Sword Masters. You can use Paladins, you can use Berserkers if you want, but there's no evolved form of them, so they become useless later in the game, generally. The Dragon Master is going to amplify the effects of the dragon. A fully evolved dragon in the back row has a devastating potential area effect. It depends on the dragon. For instance, an earth dragon, fully evolved using earthquake, is not going to do anything to an aerial unit. because they'll simply float up into the air. Doesn't affect them. But if you have others, then it works a little bit better. I can't remember the name of the one. I think it's the Hydra. Can put enemies to sleep as well. So you get a relatively decent amount of damage to the entire enemy army. And also, sometimes they can't really fight back because they're all fucking asleep. Well, there you go. Bog, Quetzalcoatl in the back row. Yes, Quetzalcoatl, exactly. I prefer the Hydra, though. Oh, also, there is a third kind of unit for Ogre Battle 64, which is an all-aerial unit. This is important in a couple of missions, because an all-aerial unit can outflank other enemies very easily. Drag them up into the mountains, and then fucking flank them. Run them around until they get tired. They set up camp. They're all asleep when you attack them, and then just fucking slaughter the shit out of them. You have to be careful, though, because, you know, there are problems. Usually, I try to create at least two. The main unit, of course, with Magnus, has most of the main characters in it. So that's like a dedicated main unit. I'll have a couple of reserve forces that stay back at the base just to fend off any approaching enemy. If one of them loses, the other one gets to engage immediately, and no problem. Sometimes I'll leave a third behind. Then I have my Swordmaster units, the Dragon unit, and a couple of flying units, and basically that works out. I am extremely good at Ogre Battle 64. But by God, it'll take you hours to fucking plan, even in the early game. It's definitely intensive. Stephen M. Breaking news. A Chinese national was just caught trying to smuggle a dangerous biopathogen into the U.S. through Detroit, getting sick of China. Yeah, that's in the docket for tomorrow. Yeah, apparently the Chinese developed an agro-terrorism weapon. That is, that they intend to attempt to destroy our food supply. How wonderful, isn't that? What a wonderful world we live in. By the way, please send no more super chats. I'm gonna keep this a little bit short today because I'm going so late. The Sumerian, what the hell are you doing in Brooklyn? Having fun, relaxing. I'm on vacation. I mean, I'm still doing this, but Castiel, Executive Order 14288 and Palantir. The dots make a line. Trump is making a surveillance police state that can only be enforced by taking our guns. Good luck with that. Richard Vernadow, Sticks, did you eat at a diner today? No, I just had a quick snack. I had some sort of charcuterie at the zoo. It was pretty good, let me tell you. Scott Steiner. During the next woke admin, we should all pitch in to buy a women's national basketball team. Sign 15 trans women. Put some parlays on over and under. One loss for the season. Sleazy can use connections to get players HGH and crack. Yeah, that would be pretty funny. Inland Surfer. Apologies about that, Sticks. I think Thomas Jefferson had the best navy cleaning up those Barbary pirates, that is. Nonetheless, love those pirates of the Spanish Main. Arr, see you in Port Royal, my captain. Yeah. Yeah, we still need to get together a clanker navy. This will be important. We're going to crowdfund a ship, and then we're going to go fight other pirates and just take their booty. There'll probably be some good booty on the ship too, so you know. And then we'll muscle them out and we'll sell the drugs ourselves maybe or something like that. I'm just joking. Although really, I would like to be back at sea fairly soon. When I'm in New Orleans, I think I'm gonna go back on the Natchez because it's just some of the most fun you can have. And they got good food, so you know, everyone wins. Yeah, we'll have to go off the coast of Somalia. In between Somalia and Yemen, that's like literal piracy waters. We could probably make it work. I have a feeling that clankers are ingenious enough and probably good enough at fighting to be able to fight off a couple of speedboats. Basically because we'd be running them down and ramming into them and sinking them into the briny deep. That's one thing that pirates do that could be conceived of as a weakness. Larger vessels, if they're maneuverable enough, can literally just drive over them, actually. It would be difficult for them to outmaneuver, for example, a small cruiser or something like that, and difficult for them to get aboard. So the ship would have to be heavily modified. We could probably swing it. Wouldn't that be fucking hilarious? We'd need ballistic vests and shit like that, but sleep is the cousin of death. That's retarded, I'm not gonna lie. Oh, no, no, no. The Navy deals with pirates all the time. I had one friend years ago, and he was actually in battle against some pirates, and they blew him out of the water. They used, if I remember correctly, a 30 millimeter gun and just bullseyed them, and their ship basically sank, and they all died. They attempted to attack a U.S. naval vessel. That's not a great idea. It was a smaller vessel, but still, I mean, you know what kind of firepower is aboard those. A fucking speedboat is not gonna do much against that as long as they're alert to your presence. Have you met any clankettes in Brooklyn yet? Yes. Also, earlier I met the first person that knew the term tricorn hat, actually. There was this lady who was out clearly, as a dog walker, probably for other people. And she was like, oh, cool tricorn hat. And she's covered in tattoos and stuff like that. First person that I've ever met in real life that actually knew the term for the hat. Thought that was funny. Sleep is the cousin of death. Do you have a ship? I wish. I wish I had a trawler, actually. I would just, I would modify it into basically a houseboat. And you have a little cot in there, and a little kitchenette with a couple of burners, and a refrigerator. What else do you need? I mean, as long as you have a bathroom, I mean, you can piss over the side of the deck, but you need somewhere to shit, I suppose. Then you just go fishing all day. And I could live stream the whole thing 24/7, and, the boat would pay for itself in a little while. That sounds fun. Bog, kiss me where it smells. I love the commentary that I see on these channels. I find it fascinating. Just give me a second, okay? I'll be right back. Alright, I'm back. Thought somebody was at the door, but apparently I was wrong. Yeah. Yup. Sticks, how much longer before Elon Musk's robots take all of our jobs? LOL. Well, they're already taking some of them. Lord help us if the AI that is now capable of disobeying commands is ever utilized in a robot that's actually fully functional. That would be bad. You can call it Skynet. Sign of Jonah. Styx is having transition surgery. Just cheekbones and larynx for now. It's costly, but upstate New York is lovely this time of year. That would actually be hysterical. Like, trolling your audience by transing yourself just as a joke. But I won't do that. Not interested. Taco Woman Sandy Ravage. Go visit cousin Chad in Manhattan. He's into polyamory. Yeah, I'm not interested in fucking Chad. I'm super straight. I only do girls. Had some experiences lately. Just saying. Yeah, I'm only interested in females. It's like I don't care if somebody's like gay or bi or something like that, but you know, for me it just doesn't work. I wouldn't be able to get it up. Like if some dude starts swishing his dick around in the shower or something like that, I'm just gonna start bursting out laughing. I would find it hysterical, but I wouldn't be offended by it, but I'm just incapable of, you know, doing it with the dude. Mesner Flux, on the high seas in the days of old, Captain Cook would stock large quantities of sauerkraut, much like the quartermaster's surprise, and would even lash his own men if they did not eat the vitamin C-rich food. Huh, that's interesting. That's similar to another culinary story. Apparently, General Ulysses S. Grant, you know, the one that was, you know, sort of the end leader for the Union in the Civil War, he was convinced that onions were medicinal, and so he ordered literal trainloads of onions for the men. And I bet that made him more popular because then you could cook the onions into your food and they would actually be a little bit more tasty because it brings out the flavor and stuff. And then that reminds me of Steve MRE Info, which many of you have heard of, who eats like military rations and shit. And then he had that hardtack from the Civil War. And it was basically like a brick more than anything. It was probably a little bit more edible when it was made in the 1800s than, you know, 150 years later. But he ate it like a trooper. He managed to crack some of it into the water there, and it sort of became hydrated, but not really. That was a very funny video. That's how he got famous. It was the hardtack video. Look him up, Steve, 1989 MRE Info. He's a cool dude. Actually spoke to him once, not in person, but back when YouTube had DMs. Spoke to him there, and I was trying to bid on a crate of sea rats, actually. And they were in perfect condition, or at least looked like it, and I was going to give him one. And for a shout out, I was just going to give him a free sea rat and ship it to him. Unfortunately, I didn't make the bid. Somebody else outbid me. And they were the old ones, so they would have had like the old school like cigarettes and shit like that, and possibly drugs in them. You never know. Especially if it's Air Force related. For some reason, they seem to like drugs more than the other branches. You would find all sorts of crazy shit in them. Now, mainly because of him, because of the popularity and the diaspora of MRE videos, it's virtually impossible to find older MREs online, not in serviceable condition. You can find foreign MREs all the time, and some of them are really good. Sweden has good ones. I would recommend those. The Dutch one is good. The best is Australian, though. So if you've never tried CRT, or is it CRM? I can't remember the acronym they use. If you can get an Australian military ration, expect to pay through the nose, but expect several really good meals. They've got these gigantic 24-hour rations. It's like fucking 4,000 calories or something like that. I guess you get awfully tired marching around, actually, in the Outback. Then you can go to Outback Steakhouse, but you'll probably have a food coma afterwards. Ramon C. GTC, I sometimes imagine Steve is a hidden clanker. He might have seen some of my material. I'm a non-hidden fan of Steve's, though. Haha. Last beacon. Last super chat. Ping us, ping us, ping us, ping us, ping us. Spoon clink. Vomit now. More gas. If somebody were to send me an intact vomit from, I don't know when they discontinued it, probably sometime in the 90s, I would eat it. Absolutely, I would eat it. I probably won't enjoy it, but as you know, with the candy corn incident, I like a little bit of masochism. I mean, hey, people will pay me to do that. If somebody sends me a vomlet, I promise you that unless it is unintact, that is, it's clear, it's got botulism or something like that, I will eat it. Because you can still eat MREs from fucking World War II sometimes. It's just most of the time they're going to be compromised. Like when I had the Vietnam MRE, the hot cocoa, delicious. The coffee, superb. But those were the only components that I could actually eat because the can was all bloated. And the MREs back then didn't really make any sense at all anyway because they were so heavy. Um, and that was just for a single meal. Like the single meal MRE weighed about half as much as a 24-hour MRE would with modern packaging and standards and so forth. It made no sense. And I'm assuming that the cans were built more thick in order to be more rugged. I mean, that makes sense, but the weight involved, it's like, you expect these dudes to carry like 20 of these around or some shit? How? They're going to have vehicle support in order to actually have enough food to survive, unless they're simply foraging for roots, nuts, and berries and shit like that. It's going to be impossible for them. I think it was pork and lima beans was the menu, but it was hideously bloated. I threw it out in the woods. I said, I don't even want to touch this shit. Yeah. I'm not eating candy corn ever again in my life. I will literally be taking a dirt nap before I do that. As far as the vomlet goes, though, if somebody can find one in reasonable condition, if it's still edible, I mean, by military MRE standards at the time from the 80s or whatever, I will eat it. I promise. I will eat it. You can DM me on Twitter if you happen to have one. I can't imagine anyone else is willing to eat one. I'm not going to enjoy this, am I? I have a feeling there's going to be that one military maniac that has a refrigerator full of MREs, or a basement full of MREs, who's going to say, ha 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 ha, Sticks, you're about to suffer, and will actually send me one. I'll give you my fucking street address. I don't even care. But I trust people who have been in the military, generally speaking. Please don't show up with duct tape and a butcher's knife, okay? But I will definitely try the vomlet. I've tried a lot of MREs. Look, I've tried them from like the 80s, 90s period through the 2000s and into the modern period. US MREs have made leaps and bounds. Honestly, that's one of the things the military definitely has improved massively. It is an enormous improvement. They managed to figure out how to put pizza in an MRE. And it's actually reasonably good. I mean, it's cafeteria pizza, but it's not inedible. There's nothing wrong with it. The only thing that I hate, and I will hate them forever for this, you got rid of the vegetarian lasagna. Thankfully, a clanker sent me half a dozen bits of it. Yes, I've still got 4 of them left. So I have it's the low salt version, so you have to add a few dashes of celery salt, but other than that, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. It's great for an emergency situation too. A lot of people that go hunting or, they're just prepping in general, they'll have some MREs lying around. I've still got to eat Anton's MRE, actually the South African one, but I need to do that on camera. That necessitates cleaning my desk off a little bit because it's kind of a mess at the moment back in Rutland, so just saying. Mogwai Centurion, Tarl, go hunt. I've picked off a few animals before, but I'm not really big into hunting, honestly, because I don't need to. If I did need to, I would be able to provide meat for myself and my family. It wouldn't be difficult. I'm actually pretty good at sharpshooting. But if I don't need to, then why would I bother? I'll just go and get a burger. I'll go to McDonald's. My mom works there. She gets free meal cards all the time. I think she's got 300 of them at the moment. Well, that's an awful lot of Big Mac meals now, isn't it? I could probably survive for an entire goddamn year on McDonald's food with the cards that she's got. I mean, I'd probably get intestinal cancer, but you know, between that and getting free biltong tea, coffee, and supplements, could probably make it work. Be a very, very carnivorian diet, I suppose. Joe, nice jacket, my dude. Where'd you get that? I can't actually remember the brand. I got it off of eBay, if I remember correctly. Let's check. I'll tell you the brand. Some other people probably are. It is Bagazio. That is Bagazio. Whatever. It's too hot to wear a fucking jacket anyway. Now you can see my skinny bitch arms, you know? Shaylock. McDonald's makes their burgers so small, though. The Big Mac's not a bad burger. It's actually fairly decent, honestly. With the meal cards, you also get your side and your drink. So that's your calories for the day. No, cut the burger in half. You have a couple of meals. Parse the French fries. You can always get free ketchup. You can get unlimited amounts of that for free. And then you just sip on your drink. So, technically speaking, I think I could survive for about a year at this point just with the meal cards. Because my mom doesn't eat McDonald's. She does not eat the food at her own restaurant. She's seen the kitchen on the inside. There might be reason for that. Personally, I don't see the problem with it. I've scrounged cigarette butts off of the asphalt before, used butts from other people. So I'm not beyond eating pretty much anything. There are only a very, very small number of things that I've ever eaten that I truly disliked. The other day, there was leftover macaroni and cheese that the kids here were eating, and I just scooped some into a plate, slathered it with ketchup, and I'm like, hey, this works for me. Pretty good, actually. Wasn't quite cheesy enough, though. There wasn't enough cheese in the mac and cheese. Sad. Richard Vernerdow. Sticks, have you ever eaten the triple cheeseburger at McDonald's before? No, I haven't. Well, actually, maybe I did. I can't, no, I think I got the double cheeseburger one time. And I've had a Big Mac before, everyone has. But, no, I don't think so. In fact, I'm not even sure that they offered at the Rutland location. Mostly, if I'm going to get a meal there, it's going to be chicken nuggets, though. I used to get the ranch chicken they used to have, but they discontinued it. The best sandwich on your menu, you can get rid of it. This happens all the fucking time with everything that I fucking like in stores and shit like that in restaurants. They always discontinue it. They did this in the Netherlands one time. I really got addicted to these little pizza rolls, basically. It's like a bready snack with a marinara sauce in it. And it's really, really good, let me tell you. And every morning I'd get one at the Jumbo when I went to do grocery shopping and get like vegetables and shit like that. I'd get one of those as a snack before my videos. After my videos, but before the live stream. But then, after I'd had 4 or 5 of them, all of a sudden they disappeared for several months. They came back. I was glad about that. But for a while, they just didn't have them. And this happens over and goddamn over. Everything that I like seems to be unpopular. Very interesting. At least in the culinary sense. The Kneeler. Oh, yeah, taco salad, yeah. Veronica Verati, can you take the sunglasses off, Sticks? Yes, indeed. I am physically capable of doing so. I don't know why you would want me to. But yes, this is me. I'm going to make weird faces. I'll do the Charles Manson face. I wonder if any of you have seen that clip where Charles Manson just goes crazy and says that he's nobody and weird shit like that. While I do not believe he was a murderer, he was definitely insane. Dragon Soup, Stolas is cool, Luna is better. Loose Luna's, good restaurant in Rutland, by the way. There's actually a restaurant called Loose Luna, which is very mimetic, by the way. James Games, you wear glasses under glasses? Well, here's the thing. I need my normal glasses to see, but I'm extremely light sensitive, so I wear sunglasses over them. My other pair, unfortunately, broke, so I'm down to one, actually, at the moment. I need to get a new one that's more reflective. I like these ones for going outside because they make the colors seem more warm because they're tinted slightly brown. But when I'm making videos and shit like that indoors, I prefer to have like reflective aviators because I just think it looks better. I know that I could put like clip-ons over the lenses on these on my interior glasses, but it really doesn't matter. I mean, who cares? I think some people want to see me through my own eyes, so to speak. This is the only time that I'm going to be doing this, by the way. And my hair looks ridiculous right now. It's a rather humid day. I can't see what you're saying at the moment. It's not possible for me to do so. Screen is just a blur. My eyesight is terrible. But yeah, this is how I look in my natural state. I mean, I could remove more, but then I'd probably get banned by YouTube and lose half of my subscribers when I show my nipples and so forth. So yeah, that's how I look. Although I can't see how you look at the moment because I can't see anything. I find playing around with the audience to be exceptionally amusing. Cosmontage, love you, Sticks. I love you too. Bog, you look like Spielberg. Wait, I do? I don't know how fucking Steven Spielberg looks. Richard Vernodow, Uncle Frank says clankers want to see Sticks strip. You have to pay for that. Hemorrhoid Hitman, shirtless Sticks was best Sticks. Well, I always keep my shirt cut low. I've just got a different shirt on right now because the other ones need to go in the wash, actually. I don't like to wear dirty clothing. It starts to smell, especially when it's muggy weather like this. So I've got it sort of planned for later. I'm going to toss it in, then I'll change clothes. I think it's supposed to be relatively hot, though, tomorrow. Let me check really quickly. This is now, by the way, just a Bantz stream. Yeah. Yeah, it was, yeah, shit, tomorrow's gonna be hotter than today. Wonderful. Oh, shit, Thursday it's gonna be approaching 90. Looks like it's gonna be hot all week, actually. It's gonna be in the mid to upper 80s, approaching 90, actually. Nixter, shirtless Sticks is best Sticks indeed. Well, pantless Sticks would be better for certain people that watch the material, but, again, you get banned for that sort of thing. Not saying for the right person I wouldn't do such a thing. I mean, I've done it before, you know. There are some people who apparently believe that I'm a kissless virgin or something like that, and I have to remind them I've been married on 2 different occasions, so. And I have a daughter, so. Yeah, believe it or not. Doug, shoeless! Primal werewolf, but can we get vomiting sticks? If that's your fetish, I could probably force myself to do it, but that would be a very high price. Bog, you're a pimp. No, no, I'm not a pimp. I'm a horny dude. Aren't we all? I mean, I'm just being honest. Come on. We're mainly adults here. We're capable of acknowledging these things. Mr. Repurpose, okay, ran the shovel whilst you ran on. The shovel? You mean like a construction equipment, or do you mean like scoop shovel? Snooch. Never stop, Sticks. And I won't. Thank you very much. Don't worry, there's nothing that can stop me. Not even death. If I die, I'll become more powerful than you can possibly imagine. Lol, not a cat. Ever caught onto the stream? Oh, just caught onto the stream. Did you see Elon pushing back over the budget bill? Yes, I saw that. I am generally Team Trump, but I can appreciate the basic ideological premise. And at least when, even if you disagree with someone, at least if their ideology has facts behind it, has a reason, is reasonable, then you can respect it more. And it helps if you're someone like Elon, who clearly is very high functioning, who's capable of explaining why they have that particular ideological issue. I happen to partially agree with him. Deficits are definitely a problem. The other problem, though, is purely pragmatic, which is what are you going to do about it? The amount of austerity that you would need in order to prevent the deficit from growing, and to stall it out or even decrease it would be so drastic it would collapse the economy. So, that's basically my thoughts on that. I could make an off-color joke right now, but I might actually get banned for it. Not sure if it'd be allowed. Let me think. What's the difference between one dead baby and two dead babies? With two dead babies, somebody's having a three-way. I like dark humor. I also like self-deprecation. That's why I need to supply the clankers with a magnifying glass so that when I do strip, they'll actually be able to see something. Richard, yeah, there are a lot of people in Vermont that are off the grid. There are a lot of people. The pastor of the old church that I used to go to, he was kind of sort of an off-gridder, actually. He had a huge pile of wood, actually employed me a couple summers in a row to stack it for him. Had some solar panels. They had a composter toilet and stuff like that. So they were not off the grid, but semi off the grid. I think it's more common in New Hampshire, though. Um, and probably maybe upstate New York or something, because a lot of Vermonters, you got to realize, are like hippie trippy. And they want to be New York. It's funny, they want to be New Yorkers, but they can't make it in New York, so they go to Burlington instead. And that's like, what, 200,000 people or something like that live in that metropolitan district. It's very, very funny. Some people liked my joke, some people hated my joke. Have to tell that in a book. I'll have Nutty Norman utter that joke to his principal or something like that in one of those stories or something. I'm having fun writing that one. Trust me, if you like dark humor, if you like the idea of insanity and find it funny, and grotesquerie and violence, you'll probably like Nutty Norman more than morbid stories. And if you don't have morbid stories, by the way, available on Amazon now. Get the second edition though, because I solved a lot of the problems of the first edition with the second one. So don't bother buying the first edition. In fact, I don't know that it's still available actually. I can't remember whether I canceled the edition. Huh. It's been a long time. I mean, I think I first made it in like what, 2012 or something like that. It's been a while. Richard Vernadow, Sticks, have you eaten at any good places in Burlington? Get Leonardo's Pizza. I haven't eaten at a whole lot of restaurants in Burlington, Vermont, but Leonardo's Pizza is not as good as it used to be. I will admit that. I don't know what they changed, but it is not as good as it used to be. But it is still very good. It's light years better than like fucking Domino's or something like that. Sith22, hey clankers that are bent. Check out clankers.net. The cool kids hang out there. Primal Werewolf. I can't repeat that on a YouTube video, but how did Helen Keller lose her virginity? They left the plunger in the toilet. Anyways, I'm gonna go offline. I've already got my docket, the main docket for tomorrow. It's already there, so I don't have to do any news research until I wake up. But I do want to eat at some point because eating is generally recommended to stay alive and not die. And it'll be fun because I've got a salad with octopus meat in it, and oh yeah, and then I've got those noodles, the egg noodles from the Thai restaurant. Delicious, by the way. I can't remember the name of the restaurant though. I'm gonna have to ask actually to find out which restaurant I was actually at because I didn't catch the name. And it was pad thai, and I had the squid soup, which was delicious. It's squid literally in its own ink. And go to my friend. I take out one of the baby octopuses or squid or whatever they are in it and go blue, 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 blue. And she nearly fell out of her seat, actually, with fright. It was absolutely hysterical. One of the funniest moments in my life. That's about all. Peace out.